Hello my friends and welcome back to my painting channel, and my goodness, it is good to be back. In this video I'm going to be painting this amazing version of Sauron. This is a 3D printed model that I've printed at home, and we're going to take this from this base coated basic looking model and we're going to turn it into this dark, grimy, messy, really sort of aggressive looking model in a few messy and easy steps. First things first, we're going to start with black. So I'm using an AK Interactive black here, but you can use any black that you like. For all those Abaddon Black fans out there, I'm looking at you. So that's all I'm going to do, is just base all of the cloak and all of the cape all in this one flat sort of black tone. So we're just going to use this flat black as a nice base colour for all of the cloak and all of the cape and everything that's flowing around behind Sauron, as you can see. And we're going to use this as a nice base, and we're going to build this up a little bit later, but this black tone is really going to give us a nice starting point. And a lot of people might sort of want to leave it black and things like that. Sometimes I do enjoy adding a little bit of grey into the mix just to build things back up. Then I'm going to paint the majority of the model using this cobalt metal, and as you can see, this has a fantastic sort of cold blue steel Zoolander kind of cold blue steel kind of effect to it, and this allows this sort of cobalt colour to be a really amazing sort of base colour for silvers. And I know what you're thinking. You're looking at my brush and you're thinking, wow, Dan, really? That's the brush you've gone with? But I know, it's not the perfect kind of brush, but it is a really great brush for large amounts of metallic paint just like this. It doesn't matter if I make any mistakes at this stage, because these are only base colors anyway, so I can always build back up from them if I do go over a little bit of the black, so don't worry too much. Then I'm going to move on and use an ash grey. I'm just going to paint all of the base in this colour so that we get those rocks looking like a sort of a mid-tone sort of deep grey colour, so that this just allows those rocks to stand out completely different to the model. But again, we're looking at greys, silvers, blacks, those sort of cool tones. From there then I'm going to cover the entire wash in a black wash. For this I'm using a Vallejo black. I do enjoy this Vallejo black. As you can see, it takes to the model very smoothly, but it does darken the model down a great deal, which is exactly what we want. We want him looking grimy, we want him looking dirty, we want him looking rusty. Well, maybe not rusty, but at least grimy and slimy and all these different things. So this black from Vallejo is fantastic. You could always use the Citadel equivalent and use your Null Oil. That would be a fantastic sort of colour choice for this as well. And that's all I'm doing, is just covering, as I say, the entire model. And you can see with this being quite watery, this is just seeping into all those gaps and crevices and cracks on the model. And then this is going to tie all of those colours together. I'm going to cover the entire thing, as I said, so that includes the base as well, so that's really going to darken down those greys. Once that's dried and we've left it for a little bit of time, we're going to use a little bit of AK Interactive streaking grime, and again, this is more of a sort of browny kind of earthy, dirty kind of tone, so you could use maybe a Seraphim Sepia instead if you wanted to add like this muddy kind of effect. But this streaking grime is very unique. It does create a real sort of grim dark, this grimy sort of effect on the model. And as you can see, I'm using a very sort of old frayed dry brush that I normally use, and I'm just dabbing this onto the model in certain areas. Now I'm going to leave that for a good couple of hours to dry everything down, and then I'm going to go back to the cobalt metal, to the blue steel, as you can remember, and we're going to start by dry brushing this back up. You can see the effect that that black wash and that streaky grime has had in really darkening the model down and turning it into this grim dark sort of effect. And if you're familiar with dry brushing, that's all I'm doing, is taking a small amount of paint onto the brush. I'm dabbing that across a bit of kitchen roll in the background so that there's very little paint left on the brush, and then I'm just using that quickly, dry brushing that, so just dragging that across the edges. And what this is going to do is just going to pick out all of those edges and all of those sticking out parts of the model that then the wash and the streaky grime are going to sit within all of those recess points, creating that level of depth. Once that's done, I'm going to use a shining metal shining silver rather, from the army painter as well, and this is going to be my highlight layer. So whereas we've gone back and used that cobalt metal, this shining silver is really going to bring out some of those tones. So I'm going to be very sparing with this because I don't want Sauron to be too shiny and too glorious and all these different things. I still want to maintain that sort of grimy and nasty and gritty look. So we're just going to be sparing with this and use this on the areas that we kind of want the light to catch the most. So on some of the most raised points, as you can see, around the chest, of course on the hand that he's got outstretching across the helmet and the face and things like that. And this is really going to bring an element of lightness and shine to the model as well. And you can see where all those dark points in the recesses are staying quite nicely. Now from there, that is the metallics done. I'm going to leave it at that, and we're just going to move on to use a German grey from Vallejo, but I'm also going to use a medium glaze, and what I'm going to do here is use 2 parts glaze to 1 part paint. So I'm just going to put 1 blob of the German grey and 2 blobs of the glaze, and that's really going to thin down this German grey and allow me to apply this to the model in a nice thin layer, and this is going to allow that colour to slowly build up on top of that black dark base, and that's going to create a sort of step up in color tone that is really going to bring out a little bit of color and a little bit of depth in that cape. So instead of leaving everything as a flat black tone, this is going to really sort of bring out a little bit of a blue tone and a little bit of a cool tone through that cape as well, through that cloak. You can see I'm just using this with a nice size 2 brush, and this is just going to be applied in nice sort of thin layers. Then once that's dry, and I'm giving that plenty of time to dry because the glaze is quite thin, I'm going to do the exact same thing but just using a Riley grey. So 1 part of the grey and 2 parts of the glaze. And this time I'm going down to my size 0 brush, and we're going to pick out a few of those details. So I'm just going to go across the very edges of the cape and the cloak. As you can see, just picking out some of the areas that I want a little bit of a highlight and a little bit of a lighter tone. Again, I'm not going to be too overly precious, pun intended. I'm not going to be overly too specific or worried about how nice this looks. We want this to be a bit gnarly and a bit extreme and a bit sort of like messy and things like that as well, because a little bit later we're going to add a few extra messy tones that are going to really sort of bring the model to life and really sort of tie everything together. It's going to make a really cool looking effect. And as you can see, just using that size 0 brush, just picking out areas that I want that highlight to be, just across some of those folds and parts of the cloak that are just flowing in the wind, just like so. You can really see how much work that dry brush has done, and the depth that you're getting out of that dark wash and that streaking grime across that armor, because it has really sort of grim darkened this really down quite nicely. Someone did mention to me the other day that this would make a really good tone for sort of grey knights as well, which I have to agree, that would be really cool. So just for the sake of irony, I'm going to do a little bit of the base, and instead of just using white, because of how aggressive and nasty and dark Sauron is, I'm actually going to use a purity white from scale 75. You can use any white you like. The purity white I'm using just because it is very intense, sort of vibrant sort of white tone. Again, you can use any white you like. The matte tone from the Army Painter is equally as good, or even just the flat white tone from the AK Interactive is also a very intense white as well. I tend to avoid using certain Citadel paints, and I don't use their sort of white tones at all, because a lot of the other tones and the other companies, they have these really nice vibrant intense whites that really stand off your models. So that's what I would recommend. From there, I'm just going to do a triad, so a triple threat of speed paints using Zealot Yellow, Fire Giant Orange, and Blood Red, and we're going to create a cool-looking lava effect. Now, if you followed my Balrog tutorial, which I will quickly put a picture to here, you'll know how I've done this. And literally, that's all I'm going to do, is I'm going to apply the yellow first, and I'm going to cover all of the areas that I painted in white with this. And I'm going to do this while everything's still wet. So the yellow is wet, the white may still be a little bit wet. It doesn't matter, we're going to go crazy, we're going to make it as dirty and as messy as possible. Like I said, this is going to be a messy video, and at the end we're going to look back and say, wow, I can't believe we created such a cool looking effect with such a messy kind of painting style. So I'm just covering everything in that yellow speed paint. This is going to sit in all those recess points between the rocks and the cracks and everything like that. it doesn't matter that the paint and the yellow and things are over the rocks and all these different bits, because we're going to tie it all together later anyway. And I know a lot of people would rather paint the bases separate to the models, and that's completely fine. I know I'm making a hash of things and making it a lot more difficult for myself by doing it this way around, but hey, that's just the way my brain is wired. From there then, I'm going to use the Fire Giant Orange, and as you can see now, I'm just going to dab this in little places where I want a little bit more of an orangey tone rather than that yellow showing through, and I want a little bit more depth and darker points. Normally I would try to keep the yellow more in like the intense creases so that they show through in like a much brighter, hotter sort of tone. And again, this is explained a lot more in my video where I was painting the Balrog. As you can see, my shadow there, it is very important to make sure that you shake your paints to death. And as you can see with this red, I've given this a real good shake. And now we're just going to add this on top as well and add a little bit of red, and again using that stippling technique, which pretty much just means dabbing the tip of the brush onto areas where I want to control where the paint is. The cool thing by painting it this way while everything is still wet, it means that these paints will mix together, they'll blend together, and it creates a really cool, interesting, and a really easy to create sort of blended sort of effect between that yellow, orange and red, and you get this really cool lava effect with such a simple tone. Then we're going to move back to black. This time though, this isn't for the cape, we're going to dry brush again. So again, we stick it with all of the messy techniques and all of the messy sort of ways of painting, and I'm just going to dry brush this just across all of that base. I'm going to put a bit of a heavy dry brush on here, and I'm going to make sure to dry brush as much as I possibly can, just so that it eliminates some of the yellow that's on those rocks. So like I said, I'm going to tie it back together later. This is exactly what we're doing. We're just tying it all together by dry brushing this black across those rocks, and what you're getting then is a little bit more of a subtle reddy orange kind of lava-y kind of effect. It's very subtle, it's not too over the top, it looks great, and it's so simple and easy to do as well. Now I'm going to go back to the original colour, which was the ash grey. This is just a nice medium grey, so you could use any kind of medium grey if you don't have the AK Interactive colours. That doesn't matter, you know, you can use whatever's closest. A nice sort of medium grey would go really well here. And again, just going to dry brush this. This time I'm being a little bit more sparing. I'm going to try to be a bit more specific about where I dry brush, and I'm just going to dry brush this across most of the edges and the raised areas, because we've already dry brushed that black quite a lot, and now we just want to pick out some of those areas that are going to catch the light a little bit more, very similarly to what we did with the armor. And as you can see, it's just building up quite nice. Again, once that is dry, I'm then going to go for a graphite. As is always the way, you're going to make a little bit of a highlight. So we're going to use graphite for this one, and this is the natural progression and the most natural step up. Again, exactly the same as what I did with the previous tone. We're just going to pick and choose specifically where we want this highlight to be, and we're going to be a little bit more sparing. We're going to catch most of the edges and most of the areas around the rocks that we want to catch the light, and we're really going to build that tone up in such a nice way. You can already see it catching onto those rocks and really bringing out that definition and that sort of stone-like effect as well. Sorry with Sauron getting in the way. Again, like I say, if you paint your base and model at the same time, sometimes the model gets in the way of the camera, and Sauron really wanted to be center stage in this. Now, as you may have noticed, Sauron is actually holding on to and wearing the One Ring. So for this, I've got the perfect colour. We're going to use bright gold from the Army Painter. This is one of the new metallic ranges, very similar to the cobalt metal that we used earlier. This time we're going to be quite specific, and we're going to try to be as careful as possible, and we're just going to pick out and paint that one ring in this really nice bright gold. This is officially the first and only time I've been focused and hyper focused and making sure that I get my paint in the exact right area for the entire model, because it's been such a messy, such a dirty, such a rough sort of painting, and I love it. It's been really good fun. Sometimes it's nice not to worry too much about the blends, but to just go crazy with the amount of things you can do. Now, I'm going to go a bit crazy with some weathering powders now. I have a dark brown and a rust red. These are 2 weathering powders from a Revel weathering set. They provide, or you can buy, that is absolutely fantastic. It has about 6 different weathering powders in there, and they are superb. They make a huge difference to your models. And as you can see, I'm just using that old dry brush that I was showing you earlier, and I'm just putting a little bit of the weathering powder onto the tip of the brush, and in using a little bit of kitchen roll or a little bit of sort of kitchen towel, I'm just dabbing the brush on the kitchen towel first to remove all of that excess powder, because I don't want all of those big chunks of weathering powder sitting on the model. Instead, what I'm getting then is all of those little refined bits, and as you can see, I'm just going to pick out some of the areas closest to the bottom of the cape, and I'm just going to pick out some of those raised areas as well. And the reasoning behind this is, in life, if you were wearing a cape, it's going to drag across the floor, right? So you're going to get a lot of like dirt and grime and mud and all these different things on it. Nothing's perfect in the world, okay? So by using this weathering powder, what we're doing is we're building this tone and this texture of a little bit of mud on the cape, showing that Sauron hasn't just been sat up in a cave all of his life, but instead coming out and wandering out into the wilderness. You can see that his cape has dragged across the mud and dragged through all of the dirt and all of the grime, and that's going to create a little bit more depth and a little bit more tone to the character as well. This is a great idea if you've got Space Marines. Using weathering powders like this, especially the rust red, if you're painting your Space Marines where they are on like a Martian red planet, using weathering powders just across the bottom of the boots like this and across the cape really add an element of depth to your Space Marines that you normally wouldn't get just through painting. And it creates a little bit more of a story, you see. Now Sauron looks like he's messy, he looks like he's dirty, he looks like he's outside. Whereas before he would look too clean. And we don't want him to look clean. He's the Lord of Darkness. He's not going to be like pristine and perfect. And exactly the same with your Space Marines and things like that. If you've got your Space Marines wandering across a Martian sort of Mars type orangey sort of like planet, all of that dust and all that sand and things is going to kick up onto their shoes, onto their cloak, and it's really going to create this amazing sort of depth to it. And as you can see, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just dipping my brush into the weathering powder, putting it first onto a little bit of kitchen towel so that that takes away all of those excess chunks, and then I'm just using the tip of the brush to just dab those colours in, just like so. We're just building up that tone, that texture, and a little bit more of that character as well. And again, because we've got these sort of cold steel, sort of cobalt tones, we've got these greys, we've got this black tones. By the time you add a little bit of brown and a little bit of red to it, you're adding warmth onto something that's cold, and you immediately create this depth of something that just catches your eye. And when all is done, this is what we ended up with. This really grim, dark, grimy Sauron. I know it's a really dark video. It's done on purpose just to show he is the Dark Lord. But you can see this has been a really fun and messy and really sort of just wild video where I've just thrown loads of different ideas onto a model and it's come out this way. So this is my Sauron. If you want to know where I got this Sauron, this was 3D printed at home. I bought it from a designer called Bite the Bullet Studio. I've painted one or two of their other things on the channel as well, and they are superb prints. So if you want to get your hands on one, just pop over to Bite the Bullet Studio. But as always, my friends, thank you so much for watching. If you stuck around to the end, I really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the techniques. And as always, take care of yourselves. I will see you on the next one.